I used to think evil announced itself, loud, obvious, impossible to miss. I was wrong. In my house, it moved quietly, hiding behind routines, smiles, and the kind of trust you don't question until it's too late. A tragedy struck, money disappeared, and the people I depended on suddenly didn't look like who I thought they were. I'll tell you everything, because someone needs to hear this. The real danger isn't always the stranger outside. Sometimes it's the secret growing inside your own home. Before I go any further, if you love these kinds of real-life stories, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me what part of the world you're watching from. It means everything to know I'm not talking to an empty room. My name is Frank Morrison. I'm 73 years old now, but this story starts when I was 32, living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Middle-class neighborhood, nothing fancy, just trying to make an honest living and build something that mattered. I thought I did that. I thought I built a family. Turns out I built a house on sand, and when the storm came, everything washed away. I met Olivia Richardson on a Tuesday afternoon in September 1984. I remember because it was raining, that cold kind of rain that makes you want to stay inside. But I had to pick up some parts from my car from the auto shop on Burley Street. She was standing under the awning outside the corner store, waiting for the rain to ease up. She had on this cream-colored coat, hair pulled back, and she was tapping her foot like she was annoyed at the sky for inconveniencing her. I didn't plan to talk to her, but when I walked past, she looked at me and said, "You got an umbrella you're not using?" Just like that, bold, direct. I like that. "I got a car," I said. "I can give you a ride if you need one." She looked me up and down, probably trying to decide if I was dangerous or decent. Then she smiled. "All right, Frank, but if you try anything, I got pepper spray and 3 brothers." I didn't try anything. I drove her to her apartment building on Teutonia Avenue, and we talked the whole way. She worked at a bank downtown, thus handling accounts and customer service. She told me she grew up in Chicago, moved to Milwaukee for a fresh start after a bad breakup. She said she was done with flashy men who made big promises and delivered nothing. She wanted stability. She wanted real. I thought I could be that for her. We started dating that October. Every weekend I'd pick her up and we'd go to Bradford Beach or grab dinner at some little diner on North Avenue. She was different from anyone I'd ever known. She dressed sharp, spoke proper, carried herself like she belonged somewhere better than where she was. But she never made me feel small. She never acted like I wasn't enough. By Christmas, I knew I wanted to marry her. I proposed on New Year's Eve, right before midnight, standing on her apartment balcony with the fireworks starting to pop in the distance. She cried. She said yes. She told me I was the best man she'd ever met. I believed her. We got married in March 1985, small ceremony at City Hall, just a few friends and my mother who came up from Alabama. Olivia's family didn't come. She said they didn't approve of her marrying someone blue-collar. I didn't care. I figured we'd prove them wrong eventually. The first year was good. Better than good. We moved into a small house on Silver Spring Drive, 2 bedrooms, little backyard, enough space to grow. Olivia kept working at the bank, and I kept working at the plastics factory, where I'd been for 8 years. We saved money. We talked about kids. We made plans. She started dressing different after the wedding. Less makeup, more comfortable clothes. She stopped going out with her girlfriends as much. She stayed home with me, cooked dinner, watched TV. I thought it meant she was settling down, becoming a wife, building a life with me. I thought I knew her. In June 1986, she told me she was pregnant. I cried. I actually cried standing in our kitchen, holding the pregnancy test in my hand like it was made of gold. I was going to be a father. I was going to give my child everything I never had. 9 months later, she gave birth to a baby girl. We named her Grace. Grace had my mother's eyes. Dark brown, deep, like they could see right through you. She was so small, so perfect. I held her in the hospital and made promises I thought I'd keep forever. I told her I'd protect her. I told her nothing bad would ever touch her. 1 month later, the doctor called us back to the hospital. He said Grace had been flagged for a genetic disorder during her newborn screening. He said they needed to test both me and Olivia to understand what we were dealing with. He scheduled the appointment for the following week. I remember Olivia got real quiet when he said that. Didn't ask questions, didn't cry, just nodded and held Grace tighter. 3 days before the appointment, Grace stopped breathing in her crib. Olivia found her in the morning. I was already at work. She called me screaming, words all jumbled together, and I couldn't understand what she was saying. I just heard Grace and not breathing, and I drove home faster than I've ever driven in my life. The paramedics were already there when I got home. They were standing in the living room, and one of them was shaking his head. That's how I knew. Before anyone said a word, I knew. Grace was gone. They called it sudden infant death syndrome. SIDS. Said it happens sometimes. No explanation, no warning. Just a baby that stops breathing and never starts again. They said there was nothing we could have done. They said it wasn't our fault. But when I looked at Olivia, something in her eyes made me feel like she was hiding behind a door I couldn't open. We buried Grace on a cold morning in March 1987. Small grave, small service, big pain. I cried so hard I couldn't stand up. Olivia stood next to me, dry-eyed, holding my arm like she was the strong one, like she was keeping me upright. People said she was in shock. They said grief hits everyone different. But I kept thinking about how quiet she got when the doctor mentioned that genetic test. I pushed the thought away. I had to, because if I let myself believe my wife had something to do with my daughter's death, I'd lose my mind. So I buried the thought with Grace and tried to move on. Life didn't stop. It kept pushing forward whether we were ready or not. Olivia wanted to try again. She said another baby would help us heal. I wasn't sure, but I didn't want to lose her too. In October 1987, she told me she was pregnant again. This time it was a boy. We named him Adam. Adam Frank Morrison. Born May 1988, 7 pounds, healthy lungs, no complications. The doctors checked everything twice, 3 times. They wanted to make sure. After losing Grace, they wanted to make sure this baby was strong. He was. Adam had Olivia's nose and my build. Even as a baby, you could tell he was going to be solid, sturdy. The kind of kid who'd grow up playing football or fixing cars with his old man. I was terrified to love him at first. Terrified something would happen. Terrified I'd lose another child and wouldn't survive it. But Adam didn't let me stay scared. He smiled at everything, laughed at nothing. He'd grab my finger and hold on like he knew I needed him as much as he needed me. Olivia was a good mother to Adam. She fed him on time, changed him, rocked him to sleep. But sometimes I'd catch her staring at him with this look I couldn't read. Not love exactly, not hate, something else, something distant. I told myself I was imagining things, told myself grief had made me paranoid. Adam grew fast, started walking at 10 months, talking at a year. By the time he was 2, he was running circles around the house, knocking over lamps, asking a million questions. He was everything Grace should have been, and I loved him so much it scared me. Olivia went back to work when Adam was 6 months old, said she needed to feel normal again. I understood. I worked double shifts when I could, saving money for Adam's future. College fund, maybe a car when he turned 16. I wanted to give him everything. The years moved quick. Adam turned 3, then 4, started preschool, made friends, came home with drawings he'd made, stick figures with giant smiles. He'd point at them and say, "That's you, Daddy. That's Mommy. That's me." And we'd tape them to the refrigerator like they were priceless art. Olivia seemed happy during those years. She smiled more, laughed at Adam's jokes, kissed me goodnight. I thought we'd finally healed from Grace's death. I thought we'd moved past the pain. I was wrong. Adam turned 5 in May 1993. We threw him a little party in the backyard, invited some neighbor kids, set up a sprinkler. He ran around in his swim trunks, screaming with joy, and I stood there watching him, thinking this was what life was supposed to be. This was what I'd worked for. That's when things started changing. It was small at first, little things I noticed but didn't understand. Olivia started going out at night. She'd say she was meeting a friend from work or running errands, but when I asked which friend or what errands, she'd get defensive. Snap at me, tell me I was being controlling. I wasn't trying to control her. I just wanted to know where my wife was going at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night. Then came the phone calls. I'd wake up at 2 in the morning and Olivia wouldn't be in bed. I'd find her in the kitchen or the bathroom, whispering into the phone, and when she saw me, she'd hang up fast. Say it was a wrong number or her sister calling late. But her sister lived in Chicago and worked the night shift. Why would she be calling at 2 a.m.? I didn't have proof of anything, no evidence, just a feeling in my gut that something was wrong. But I'd learned not to trust my gut after Grace. I'd learned that sometimes grief makes you see problems that aren't there. So I stayed quiet, watched, waited. Adam asked me one morning, "Daddy, why does Mommy leave at night?" My heart stopped. "What do you mean, buddy?" "Sometimes I wake up and she's gone. Then she comes back and smells different." "Smells different how?" He shrugged. "Like outside, like somebody else." I didn't know what to say to that. So I just hugged him and told him everything was fine. Told him Mommy was working hard to take care of us. Told him he didn't need to worry. But I was worried. I was terrified. In August 1993, everything changed. Olivia came home from work early, which was already unusual. She walked in the door, put her purse down, and sat on the couch. She looked pale, tired. I asked her what was wrong. "I don't feel good, Frank." "What kind of not good?" "I don't know. Dizzy, weak, my back hurts." I told her to go lie down, made her tea, checked on her every hour. By evening, she said she felt better, said it was probably just stress from work. But 2 days later, she collapsed in the kitchen. I was getting ready for my shift when I heard the crash. I ran in and found her on the floor, eyes half open, breathing shallow. I called 911, hands shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone. The ambulance came fast. They loaded her onto a stretcher, checked her vitals, asked me questions I didn't have answers to. Adam was crying, holding onto my leg, asking if Mommy was going to die like Grace did. I told him no. I told him Mommy would be fine. I didn't know if I was lying. At the hospital, they ran tests, blood work, scans. I sat in the waiting room for 4 hours, watching the clock, praying to a God I hadn't talked to since Grace's funeral. Finally, the doctor came out. His name was Dr. Raymond Hayes. White coat, calm voice, the kind of voice that makes you think everything's under control. "Mr. Morrison, your wife has acute kidney failure. It's serious, but treatable. She needs surgery as soon as possible." My chest tightened. "Surgery? What kind of surgery?" "Kidney transplant. Without it, she'll need dialysis for the rest of her life, and even that won't guarantee long-term survival." "How much?" He hesitated. "With the surgery, hospital stay, medications, and follow-up care, you're looking at around $250,000. The room tilted. I thought I heard him wrong. $250,000? "I know it's a lot, Mr. Morrison, but your wife's life depends on it. We can discuss payment plans, but we need to move quickly." I couldn't breathe. I made $42,000 a year at the factory. I had maybe $8,000 in savings. My insurance covered some things, but not this. Not close to this. Dr. Hayes put his hand on my shoulder. "I'll give you some time to figure things out, but we can't wait long." I went home that night feeling like I was drowning. Adam asked where Mommy was, and I told him she had to stay at the hospital for a little while. He asked if she was coming back. I said yes. I said she'd be fine. But I didn't know how I was going to make that true. I started calling everyone I knew, friends, family, coworkers. I took out loans, maxed out credit cards, begged my boss for an advance. In 2 weeks, I scraped together $73,000. It wasn't enough. It wasn't even close. That's when I got the text message. It came through on a Friday afternoon. I was sitting in my truck outside the factory, eating a sandwich, trying to figure out how to find another $177,000 before Olivia's kidneys gave out completely. My phone buzzed. "Unknown number. Meet me at Central Park tomorrow at noon. I'll tell you the truth about your wife." I stared at that message for a full minute, read it 3 times. My first thought was it was some kind of scam. Someone saw the desperate man asking for money and decided to mess with him. My second thought was maybe it wasn't. I didn't sleep that night. Kept thinking about Olivia's strange behavior over the past few months. The late night calls, the secretive exits, the way Adam said she smelled different when she came home. What truth could someone tell me that I didn't already know? Saturday came. I dropped Adam off at my mother's house, told her I had some business to handle. She looked at me with those knowing eyes, the ones that said she could see I was carrying something heavy, but she didn't ask questions. Just kissed my forehead and told me to be careful. Central Park wasn't far from our house. Just a 10-minute drive. It was one of those perfect autumn days. Leaves turning orange and red, kids playing on the swings, couples walking dogs. Everything looked normal, peaceful, like the world wasn't falling apart. I sat on a bench near the fountain, exactly where the text message told me to be. Waited. Watched. My hands were sweating even though it was cool outside. 15 minutes past noon, a woman approached. She was maybe late 20s, early 30s. Black woman, thin, wearing jeans and a denim jacket. Short hair. Nervous eyes. She looked around like she was making sure nobody was watching, then sat down next to me. Frank Morrison? That's me. My name is Kelly Winters. I'm a friend of Olivia's. The way she said friend made it clear she wasn't anymore. What do you want? I asked. I want to tell you who you're really married to. My jaw tightened. If this is about money, it's not. She cut me off, looked me dead in the eye. Your wife is a liar, Frank, and I'm about to prove it. I wanted to walk away. Wanted to tell this woman she didn't know what she was talking about. But something in her voice made me stay. Olivia's not sick, Kelly said. There's nothing wrong with her kidneys. This whole thing is a setup. What are you talking about? She made a deal with that doctor, Dr. Hayes. He's going to say she needs surgery. You're going to scramble for the money. And once you get it together, she's going to take it and disappear. They're splitting it. Half for her, half for him. My heart was pounding. That's insane. Why would she do that? Kelly leaned closer. Because she's been planning to leave you for months, Frank. She's been seeing someone else. Has been for years. And she wants out, but she wants to get paid on the way. You're lying. Am I? Kelly pulled out her phone, scrolled through something, showed me a photo. It was Olivia standing outside some apartment building I didn't recognize, kissing a man I'd never seen before. The timestamp said it was from 2 weeks ago. My stomach dropped. That's Jerome, Kelly said. Real estate agent, makes good money, flashy, exactly the kind of man Olivia always wanted. She's been with him since before your daughter died. Grace, I whispered. Her name was Grace. Kelly's face softened. I'm sorry about Grace, Frank. I really am, but there's something else you need to know. I didn't want to hear it, didn't want to know, but I couldn't move. Olivia killed that baby. The world stopped. The sound of children playing faded. The wind went quiet. Everything disappeared except Kelly's words. What did you just say? Grace wasn't yours, Frank. She was Jerome's. Olivia knew the genetic test would prove it, so she smothered that baby 3 days before the appointment. I stood up so fast I almost fell over. You're insane. You're sick. You don't know what you're talking about. Sit down, Frank. Kelly's voice was calm. Too calm. I know because Olivia told me. She was drunk one night, crying, talking about how guilty she felt, but how she didn't have a choice. Said if you found out Grace wasn't yours, you'd leave her. She'd lose everything. So she made a choice, a terrible choice. Tears were streaming down my face. I didn't even realize I was crying. Why? Why are you telling me this? Because she owes me $12,000. Borrowed it last year, said she'd pay me back in 6 months. Never did. Stopped answering my calls. Cut me off completely. So I did some digging. Found out about this whole fake surgery scheme. And I decided if she's going to steal from you, I'm going to make sure you know exactly who she is first. This is revenge? Call it whatever you want. But every word I've said is true. Check your wife's phone. Check her emails. Talk to Dr. Hayes if you don't believe me about the money. But don't give her that $250,000, Frank. Because the second you do, she's gone, and you'll never see her again. Kelly stood up, handed me a piece of paper with an address written on it. That's where Jerome lives. If you want more proof, go there. She's probably there right now. Then she walked away. I sat on that bench for an hour, maybe longer. Couldn't move, couldn't think. Everything Kelly said was spinning in my head like a tornado, ripping apart everything I thought I knew. Olivia killed Grace. Olivia was stealing from me. Olivia was leaving. I drove to the address Kelly gave me. It was a nice apartment complex on the east side, new construction, the kind of place I could never afford. I sat in my truck across the street, watching the building, waiting. At 4:30 p.m., Olivia walked out. She was wearing clothes I'd never seen before. Tight dress, heels, hair done up. She looked like the woman I met in 1984, before she became my wife, before she became Adam's mother. A man walked out behind her. Tall, well-dressed, confident. He put his arm around her waist. She laughed, kissed him, got into his car. They drove away together. And I sat there, watching them disappear, feeling something inside me die. I didn't go home that night. Couldn't. Didn't know what I'd do if I saw Olivia's face. Didn't know if I'd scream or cry or worse. So I drove around Milwaukee for hours, windows down, radio off, just me and the sound of tires on pavement. By the time the sun came up Sunday morning, I'd made my decision. I needed proof. Real proof. Not just Kelly's word and a photo. Because if I was going to destroy my wife's life the way she destroyed mine, I needed to be sure. Needed to be certain. I started with Dr. Hayes. Monday morning, I went to the hospital. Told the receptionist I needed to speak with Dr. Hayes about my wife's treatment plan. She said he was in surgery, wouldn't be available until later. I said I'd wait. I waited 4 hours. When he finally came out, still in his scrubs, he looked surprised to see me. "Mr. Morrison, I wasn't expecting you today. We need to talk," I said, privately. He led me to his office. Small space, organized, diplomas on the wall. He sat behind his desk, folded his hands. "What can I do for you?" "I want to see Olivia's test results. All of them." He blinked. "I'm sorry?" "Her kidney function tests, blood work, scans, everything you used to diagnose her. I want to see it." "Mr. Morrison, I understand you're concerned, but that's highly unusual. I'm her husband. I have a right to see her medical records." He shifted in his seat. Something in his eyes changed. "Of course, I'll have my assistant pull the files. It might take a few days. I'll wait. It could take a week, maybe more. Then I'll come back in a week." He stared at me. I stared back. He was the first one to look away. "Is there something else going on, Mr. Morrison?" "You tell me, doctor." The silence between us was heavy. Finally, he stood up. "I'll get you those records. Check back with me next Monday." I left the hospital knowing I'd rattled him, knowing he was hiding something. Next, I went to the police, walked into the precinct on Locust Street, asked to speak to a detective. They put me in a room with a woman named Detective Maria Flores. She was maybe 40, sharp eyes, no-nonsense attitude. "What can I help you with, Mr. Morrison?" I told her everything. Kelly's message, the photo, what she said about Grace, what she said about the fake surgery. I told her about Olivia's behavior over the past few months. Told her about the man named Jerome. Detective Flores listened without interrupting. Took notes. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. "That's a serious accusation, especially about your daughter." "I know. Do you have any evidence besides what this Kelly woman told you?" "Not yet. That's why I'm here." She nodded. "Here's the situation. We can't open an investigation based on hearsay, but if you can get me something concrete, text messages, emails, phone records, bank statements showing unusual activity, then we can move forward." "What about my daughter's death? Can you reopen that case? If there's cause to believe it wasn't Sid's, yes, but we'd need evidence, medical records, witness testimony, something." I felt my hope crumbling. "So you're saying there's nothing you can do?" "I'm saying I need you to do some legwork first. Get me proof, Mr. Morrison. Then I'll get you justice." I left the precinct feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. That night, I waited until Olivia went to sleep. Then I took her phone from the nightstand, went into the bathroom, and started looking. Her passcode was Adam's birthday. I'd watched her type it in 100 times. Her messages were mostly normal, work stuff, conversations with her sister. But there was one number that appeared more than any other. No name attached. Just a phone number. I scrolled through the conversation. "Can't wait to see you tonight. He's working late. I'll be there by 8. How much longer do we have to pretend? Soon, baby. Soon." My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone. I took screenshots of everything, sent them to my email, deleted the sent messages, put her phone back exactly where I found it. Then I went to check her emails. She'd left her laptop open on the kitchen table. I opened it, went to her inbox. Most of it was boring. Bank statements, store promotions. But then I saw an email from Dr. Hayes. Subject line, confirmation. I clicked on it. "Everything is set for Friday. Total amount, $250,000. Transfer split is agreed. Account info below." There was a bank account number, not ours, not one I recognized. I forwarded the email to myself, deleted it from the sent folder, closed the laptop. I had my proof. The next morning, I went back to Detective Flores, showed her everything, the screenshots, the email, the photos Kelly had given me. She looked at all of it carefully, clicking through each image, reading every word. "This is enough," she said finally. "I can get a warrant for phone records and bank statements. I can bring them both in for questioning." "What about Grace?" "I'll contact the medical examiner, see if we can get the autopsy report reviewed. If there's any indication of foul play, we'll exhume the body." The word exhume hit me like a punch. My baby girl, 6 years in the ground, and now they were going to dig her up. I wanted to throw up. "When?" "Give me 48 hours. I'll have everything ready." I nodded, stood up to leave. She stopped me at the door. "Mr. Morrison, I'm sorry this is happening to you." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just left. Those 48 hours were the longest of my life. I had to go home every night, sit across from Olivia at dinner, pretend like I didn't know she was a murderer and a thief. Had to watch her kiss Adam goodnight, knowing she was planning to abandon him. Had to sleep next to her, feeling her warmth, knowing it was all a lie. On Wednesday night, she asked me how the fundraising was going. "Getting close," I said. "Few more days and I'll have enough." She smiled, kissed my cheek. "You're a good man, Frank. I'm lucky to have you." I wanted to scream, wanted to grab her by the shoulders and ask her how she could do this, how she could kill our daughter, how she could look me in the eye and destroy me without flinching. But I stayed quiet, counted the hours until Friday. Friday morning came cold and gray. I woke up at 5 a.m., couldn't sleep anymore. Olivia was still passed out next to me, mouth slightly open, breathing deep. She looked peaceful, innocent, like she hadn't done anything wrong. I got dressed quietly, went downstairs, made coffee. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I kept checking my phone, waiting for Detective Flores to call. At 7:30 a.m., it finally rang. "Mr. Morrison, we're moving in 2 hours. We'll pick up your wife at your house. Dr. Hayes at the hospital. We have warrants for both. You need to make sure you and your son are out of the house by 9. "Understood." "One more thing. We got the autopsy report for your daughter reviewed by a specialist. There were some inconsistencies originally overlooked. Petechial hemorrhaging in the eyes, slight bruising around the nose and mouth could indicate suffocation." My chest caved in. So she really did it. "We're building the case. But yes, Mr. Morrison, it's looking that way." I hung up and just stood there in my kitchen staring at nothing. My daughter didn't die in her sleep. Someone killed her. My wife killed her. Held a pillow over her face until she stopped breathing. And I'd been sleeping next to that woman for 6 years. I heard footsteps upstairs. Olivia was awake. She came down in her robe, yawning, smiling. "Morning, baby. Coffee smells good." "Made a fresh pot," I said. She poured herself a cup, leaned against the counter. "What's the plan for today?" "I was thinking I'd take Adam to the park, give you some time to rest." "That's sweet." She sipped her coffee. "You're so good to us, Frank. I don't say it enough, but I appreciate everything you're doing." I nodded. Didn't trust my voice. At 8:45 a.m., I got Adam ready. Told him we were going to Grandma's house for a special visit. He asked if Mommy was coming. I said no, Mommy needed to stay home and rest. Olivia kissed him goodbye at the door. Told him to be good. Told him she loved him. I watched her say those words, and I wondered if she ever meant them. If she'd ever loved either of us, or if we were just tools she used to build the life she wanted. I strapped Adam into his car seat, started driving, looked in the rearview mirror and saw Olivia standing in the doorway, waving. That was the last time I saw her as a free woman. I dropped Adam off at my mother's house. She asked if everything was okay. I said I had some business to handle, asked if she could watch him for the day. She said yes, of course, but she looked worried. "Frank, baby, what's going on?" "I'll tell you later, Mama. I promise." I drove back toward my house but parked a block away. Waited. At exactly 9 a.m., 2 police cars pulled up in front of my house. Detective Flores got out, along with 3 uniformed officers. They knocked on the door. Olivia answered. I was too far away to hear what they were saying, but I saw her face change. Saw the smile disappear. Saw her start shaking her head. Saw her try to close the door. They didn't let her. They went inside. 10 minutes later, they brought her out in handcuffs. She was screaming, "This is a mistake! Frank! Frank, where are you?" I sat in my truck watching, silent. They put her in the back of the police car. She was crying now, mascara running down her face. She looked small, broken, Nothing like the woman who'd been lying to me for years. Detective Flores saw my truck, walked over, knocked on my window. I rolled it down. We got her. Dr. Hayes is in custody, too. His office had records of the bank account. Payment plan was all laid out. Email correspondence between them going back 6 months. What happens now? We question them both, compare stories, build the case. If everything checks out the way we think it will, they're both looking at serious time. Your wife especially. What about Grace? We're exhuming the body next week. Once we have the full analysis, we'll add murder charges. Murder charges. My wife, the mother of my son, a murderer. Thank you, I said, for believing me. You did the hard part, Mr. Morrison. You got the proof. I watched the police cars drive away with Olivia in the back, watched until they disappeared around the corner. Then I sat there in my truck, in front of the house where I thought I was building a family, and I cried harder than I'd ever cried in my life. The news spread fast. By Monday, everyone knew. My coworkers, the neighbors, Olivia's family, Adam's school. The woman who killed her baby and tried to fake a medical emergency to steal $250,000 from her husband. I couldn't go anywhere without people staring. Some looked at me with pity. Others looked at me like I was stupid for not seeing it sooner. Maybe I was. Detective Flores called me Tuesday afternoon. Said Olivia and Dr. Hayes had both been formally charged. Olivia with first-degree murder of Grace, attempted fraud, and conspiracy to commit theft. Dr. Hayes with fraud, conspiracy, and accessory after the fact. They're both pleading not guilty, she said. Of course they are. The trial date is set for March, 6 months from now. We'll need you to testify. I'll be there. The hardest part was Adam. He kept asking where Mommy was. I didn't know how to explain to a 5-year-old that his mother was in jail, that his sister didn't die in her sleep, that everything he thought was safe was built on lies. I told him Mommy was sick and had to stay at a special hospital for a while. He asked if she was going to die like Grace. I said no. I said she'd be okay eventually, but it would take a long time. He cried himself to sleep most nights. I'd sit next to his bed, rubbing his back, singing the same songs Olivia used to sing to him, and I'd hate her all over again. Not for what she did to me, but for what she did to him. My mother moved in with us, said I couldn't do this alone. She was right. I was working full-time, trying to pay off the loans I'd taken out for Olivia's fake surgery and taking care of a heartbroken 5-year-old. I was drowning. In November, they exhumed Grace's body. I wasn't there. Couldn't be. Detective Flores told me later they found exactly what they were looking for. Asphyxiation. Manual suffocation. Grace had been smothered with a soft object, probably a pillow or blanket, held over her face for several minutes. She didn't die peacefully. She struggled, and Olivia held her down until she stopped. They added the murder charge the next day. Olivia's lawyer tried to get the charges reduced, argued there was no direct evidence Olivia had killed Grace, said the autopsy was inconclusive, but the prosecution had her emails to Dr. Hayes, had her text messages to Jerome, had her own words, drunk and guilty, told to Kelly months ago. Kelly testified in the preliminary hearing, told the judge everything Olivia had confessed to her, how she panicked when she realized the genetic test would expose her affair, how she waited until Frank left for work, how she went into Grace's room, picked up the baby, held the pillow over her face, and counted to 300. I wasn't in the courtroom when Kelly said that. Detective Flores told me later. She said I should be grateful I wasn't there, said the details were worse than anything I could imagine. But I didn't need to be there. I could imagine it fine. December came, Adam's 6th birthday. We had a small party at home. Just him, me, my mother, and a couple of his friends from school. He blew out the candles on his cake and made a wish. What'd you wish for, buddy? I wished Mommy would come home. My heart broke in half. I wanted to tell him the truth, wanted to explain that Mommy wasn't coming home, that Mommy had done terrible things and was never coming home. But he was 6 years old. How do you destroy a child's world like that? So I just hugged him, told him I loved him, told him everything was going to be okay. I was lying, but sometimes lying is kinder than the truth. Christmas was quiet, no decorations, no tree. Adam asked why we weren't celebrating like we used to. I told him we'd celebrate next year, bigger and better. This year we just needed to rest. He accepted that. Kids are good at accepting things they don't understand. In January, I got a letter from Olivia. She was still in county jail, waiting for trial. The letter was 3 pages long, handwritten, tear-stained. She said she was sorry, said she never meant for any of this to happen, said she loved me and Adam and she'd made terrible mistakes, but she wasn't a monster. She said Grace's death was an accident. She'd been holding her. The baby started crying, and she put the pillow over her face to muffle the sound and forgot how fragile babies were. She said the surgery plan was Dr. Hayes's idea. She'd gone to him for anxiety medication, told him about her affair, and he'd suggested they could both make money off my desperation. She said she'd never actually planned to leave me, said she was just scared and made bad choices. She said if I loved her at all, I'd ask the prosecutor to drop the charges. I read that letter 3 times. Then I ripped it into pieces and threw it away. I couldn't stop thinking about the man in the photo, Jerome, the one Olivia had been seeing for years, the father of Grace, the man she'd planned to run away with. In February, I decided to find him. It wasn't hard. Kelly had given me the address. I drove to his apartment building on a Tuesday afternoon, parked outside, and waited. I didn't know what I was waiting for. Didn't know what I'd do if I saw him. I just needed to see his face. He came out around 5 p.m., tall, well-dressed, confident, the kind of man who'd never worked in a factory, the kind of man who'd never scrambled for money to save someone he loved. I got out of my truck, walked up to him. Jerome, he turned, looked confused. Do I know you? I'm Frank Morrison, Olivia's husband. His face went pale. He looked around like he was thinking about running, but he didn't, just stood there, frozen. I'm not here to fight, I said. I just want to talk. I don't have anything to say to you. Did you know? Know what? About Grace, about what she did. He looked away. I don't know what you're talking about. You're lying. He shook his head. Man, I'm sorry about what happened to you. I really am. But Olivia and I, it was just a fling. Nothing serious. A fling? You were with her for years. That doesn't mean I knew what she was doing. She told me she was married, yeah. She told me she was planning to leave you. But I didn't know about the kid. I didn't know about any of that. Grace was yours. He went silent, stared at me. What? Your daughter, not mine. That's why Olivia killed her, because the DNA test would have proven you were the father. Jerome's face crumbled. He leaned against the building, breathing hard. No, man, you're lying. I wish I was. He slid down the wall, sat on the ground, put his head in his hands. Oh my God. I stood there watching him fall apart, feeling absolutely nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, just emptiness. Did you love her? I asked. He looked up at me. Does it matter? Did you? I thought I did, but looking back, I don't know. She was exciting, different, made me feel important, but love, real love, no. I don't think either of us knew what that was. She killed your daughter to keep you. I didn't ask her to do that. He was crying now. I would never, if I'd known, I would have stopped her. Would you? He didn't answer. I left him there, sitting on the ground, crying for a daughter he never knew he had. I got in my truck and drove home, feeling like I'd just looked in a mirror and seen my own stupidity staring back at me. I'd wasted 8 years of my life on a woman who'd never loved me. I'd lost my daughter. I'd almost lost my son. And for what? For a lie, for a fantasy, for someone who saw me as nothing more than a paycheck and a safety net. That night, I sat Adam down in the living room. He was watching cartoons, eating a bowl of cereal. Buddy, I need to talk to you about something. He turned off the TV, looked at me with those big eyes. Is it about Mommy? Yeah, it is. Is she coming home? No, son, she's not. His face fell. Why? I took a deep breath. Because Mommy did some things that hurt people, hurt our family, and now she has to stay where she is for a long time. What did she do? I couldn't tell him. Not yet. Maybe not ever. She made some really bad choices, and now she has to face the consequences. Will I ever see her again? I don't know, Adam. Maybe someday. But for now, it's just you and me and Grandma, and that's okay. We're going to be okay. He started crying. I pulled him into my lap, held him while he sobbed, and I cried too. We cried together for the family we'd lost, for the mother who'd betrayed us, for the little sister he barely remembered but would always carry with him. I'm scared, Daddy. I know, buddy. Me too. But we're going to get through this. I promise. I didn't know if I could keep that promise, but I had to try. March 1994, the trial started on a Monday morning, cold and rainy. The courthouse was packed. Reporters, curious onlookers, Olivia's family who still believed she was innocent despite all the evidence. I sat in the front row with Detective Flores. Adam was with my mother. I'd asked her to keep him away from this. He didn't need to see his mother like this. Olivia was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed in front of her. She looked thinner than I remembered, older. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, no makeup, no jewelry. She looked like a stranger. She saw me in the courtroom and our eyes met. She mouthed something. I think it was, "I'm sorry." I looked away. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The prosecution laid out everything. The autopsy results proving Grace was smothered. The DNA test proving Jerome was the biological father. The emails between Olivia and Dr. Hayes planning the fake surgery. The text messages to Jerome. Kelly's testimony about Olivia's drunken confession. It was brutal. Every day, new details came out. Things I didn't know. Things that made me sick. Olivia's affair with Jerome started 6 months into our marriage. She'd met him at a real estate conference where the bank had sent her to represent their mortgage division. He was charming, successful, everything she thought she wanted. They started sleeping together immediately. She got pregnant with Grace after a weekend trip with Jerome. Told me it was mine. Convinced me we'd made our baby out of love. When the genetic test was ordered, she panicked. Called Jerome, told him what happened. He said they should come clean. She refused. Said she'd lose everything. So she made a plan. Waited until I went to work. Went into Grace's room and killed our baby. Kelly testified that Olivia called her that night, hysterical, saying she'd done something terrible. She said Olivia was drunk, rambling, talking about how she couldn't breathe and couldn't stop seeing Grace's face. But by the next morning, Olivia was calm again. Said she'd done what she had to do. Said it was for the best. The defense tried to argue postpartum depression. Said Olivia wasn't in her right mind. Said she'd suffered a psychotic break and didn't remember what happened. The prosecution destroyed that argument, showed the premeditation, the planning, the lies that came after. Olivia knew exactly what she was doing. Dr. Hayes testified against her, cut a deal to reduce his charges. He said Olivia approached him 6 months ago with the surgery plan, said she wanted to steal money from me before leaving. He said he agreed because he was in debt and desperate. He said he never thought she'd actually go through with it. He was sentenced to 10 years. On the final day of the trial, I was called to testify. I walked up to the stand, put my hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. The prosecutor asked me about my marriage, about Grace, about the moment I found out my wife had been lying to me for years. I told them everything. The pain in my voice was real. The tears were real. I didn't have to perform. I just had to remember. When I was done, Olivia's lawyer cross-examined me, tried to make me look suspicious, asked if I'd ever cheated, if I'd ever hit Olivia, if I'd ever given her a reason to stray. I said no to all of it, told the truth. I wasn't perfect, but I'd never betrayed her. I'd loved her with everything I had. The lawyer asked if I'd really never suspected anything before Kelly contacted me. I paused, thought about it. I suspected, but I didn't want to believe it. So I pushed the thoughts away, told myself I was paranoid, told myself grief was making me see things that weren't there. Looking back, I should have trusted my gut. And maybe if I had, Grace would still be alive. So you blame yourself? I blame the woman who killed my daughter. But yeah, I carry my share of it too. After I testified, I went back to my seat. Olivia was crying. Her lawyer was whispering to her. She shook her head, kept crying. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When they came back, the courtroom was silent. On the charge of first-degree murder in the death of Grace Morrison, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of attempted fraud and conspiracy to commit theft? Guilty. Olivia collapsed. Her family screamed. The judge banged his gavel, called for order. Sentencing was set for 2 weeks later. Olivia was facing life in prison. I walked out of the courthouse into the rain. Detective Flores followed me. Are you okay? No, but I will be. You did the right thing, Mr. Morrison. You got justice for your daughter. Justice. That word felt hollow. Grace was still dead. Adam was still without a mother. I was still alone, but at least the truth was out. April 7th, 1994, sentencing day. I didn't want to go, didn't want to see Olivia's face again. But the Detective Flores said it would be good for me, said it would bring closure. I wasn't sure I wanted closure. Closure meant accepting this was real, meant moving on. I didn't know how to do that. The courtroom was less crowded this time. Just family, a few reporters, and the people who'd been there from the beginning. Olivia was brought in looking even smaller than before. She'd lost weight. Her eyes were hollow. The judge asked if she wanted to make a statement before sentencing. Her lawyer advised against it. She did it anyway. She stood up, hands shaking, and looked at me. "Frank, I know you'll never forgive me. I don't expect you to. I don't even forgive myself. What I did to Grace, there's no excuse, no justification. I was scared and selfish, and I made the worst choice anyone could make. I took our daughter's life to protect my lies, and I'll spend the rest of my life living with that." She was crying. I wasn't. "I want you to know I loved you. Maybe not the way I should have. Maybe not the way you deserved. But I did love you, Frank. You were good to me. You were everything I said I wanted. But somewhere along the way, I lost myself. I became someone I don't recognize. And Adam, my sweet Adam, tell him his mother is sorry. Tell him I never wanted to hurt him. Tell him he's better off without me." The judge cut her off. "That's enough, Mrs. Morrison." Olivia sat down. Her lawyer put a hand on her shoulder. The judge looked at her with cold eyes. "Olivia Morrison, you have been found guilty of first-degree murder in the death of your infant daughter, Grace Morrison. You have also been found guilty of attempted fraud and conspiracy to commit theft. These crimes are heinous, calculated, and unforgivable. You not only took the life of an innocent child, but you betrayed the trust of your husband and son in the most devastating way possible." He paused. Let the words sink in. "I sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder of Grace Morrison. Additionally, I sentence you to 15 years for the fraud charges to run consecutively. You will spend the rest of your natural life behind bars." Olivia didn't react, just stared straight ahead. "Do you have anything to say?" She shook her head. "Then we're done here. Officers, please remove the defendant." They took her away. She didn't look back at me, didn't look at anyone, just walked out of the courtroom like she was already gone. Her family tried to approach me on the way out. Her sister wanted to talk. Her mother wanted to apologize. I kept walking. There was nothing they could say that would change anything. Outside, I stood in the parking lot for a long time, felt the sun on my face, heard birds singing. Life was moving on whether I was ready or not. Detective Flores walked up next to me. "How are you feeling?" "Empty." "That's normal, is it? You've been carrying this weight for months. Now it's done. The emptiness is just space where the weight used to be. Give it time, you'll figure out what to fill it with. I don't know how to move on from this. You don't have to move on, Mr. Morrison. You just have to move forward. There's a difference." I thought about that. Moving forward. Not forgetting. Not pretending it didn't happen. Just taking one step, then another, until eventually I was somewhere else. "What about Adam?" "He's young. He'll heal, especially if you're there for him. I'll always be there for him. Then he'll be okay. You both will." I went home that night and told Adam it was over. Told him Mommy wouldn't be coming home. Told him we were going to start building a new life. Just the two of us. He asked if we could still talk about Mommy sometimes, if it was okay to miss her. I told him yes. Told him it was okay to feel however he felt. Told him feelings don't make you weak. They make you human. We planted a tree in the backyard that weekend, a small oak tree, for Grace. Adam wanted to help dig the hole, so I let him. We worked together, shoveling dirt, making space for something to grow. "Will Grace ever come back?" Adam asked. "No, buddy. She's gone, but this tree will be here. And every time we look at it, we can remember her." What do we remember? That she was loved, that she mattered, that even though she was only here for a little while, she changed us forever. Adam thought about that. Then he patted the dirt around the tree. "I think she would have liked this tree." I think so too. 10 years later, 2004, Adam is 15 now. Tall, strong, smart. He plays basketball at his high school, gets good grades, has friends. He's turned into a young man I'm proud of. We don't talk about Olivia much anymore. He knows what happened. I told him the full truth when he turned 13, thought he was old enough to understand. He cried, asked a lot of questions, went through a rough patch where he was angry at everyone. But he came out the other side, got therapy, talked through his feelings, forgave himself for missing a mother who'd done terrible things. Olivia's still in prison, will be for the rest of her life. She writes to Adam sometimes. He doesn't write back. I don't force him to. That's his choice. I never remarried, dated a little bit over the years, but nothing serious. I'm okay with that. Some people find love twice. Some people don't. I'm not bitter about it. I had love once, and even though it turned out to be a lie, there were real moments in there. Real happiness. I hold on to those. The tree we planted for Grace is tall now, big enough to provide shade in the summer. Adam still sits under it sometimes when he's thinking, says it makes him feel close to the sister he barely remembers. I'm 63 years old, retired from the factory last year. Spend my days reading, fishing, helping my mother who's now in her late 80s. Life is simple, quiet, not exciting, but peaceful. People ask me if I'm happy. I tell them happiness is too strong a word, but I'm at peace. And after everything I've been through, peace is enough. I learned some things from all this. Learned that the people closest to you can hurt you the worst. Learned that love isn't enough if it's built on lies. Learned that some betrayals are so deep you never fully recover, you just learn to live around them. But I also learned that you're stronger than you think, that even when everything falls apart, you can rebuild. Maybe not the same way, maybe not as high, but you can build something. And I learned that the truth, no matter how painful, is better than a beautiful lie. If you've been watching this whole story, thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for listening to an old man talk about the worst chapter of his life. I hope you never have to go through something like this. But if you do, I hope you find the strength to face it head on. Don't hide from the truth. Don't make excuses for people who hurt you. And don't let anyone make you feel crazy for trusting your gut. My daughter Grace would have been 24 now. I think about her sometimes. Wonder what kind of woman she would have become. Wonder if she would have had my mother's wisdom or my stubbornness. Wonder if she would have forgiven her mother. I'll never know. But I carry her with me every day. Adam's looking at colleges now, wants to study engineering, says he wants to build things that last. I think that's beautiful. After growing up in a family that crumbled, he wants to create things that stay standing. That's how you heal. You build something better than what you lost. The oak tree in our backyard is blooming. Spring came early this year. Adam and I stood under it yesterday, watching the leaves catch the sunlight, and he said something that stuck with me. Dad, do you think people can be good, even if they do terrible things? I thought about it. Thought about Olivia. Thought about the years before everything fell apart. I think people are complicated. I think we all have the capacity for good and bad. What matters is what we choose, and when we choose wrong, we have to accept the consequences. Do you think Mom chose? Yeah, son, I do. He nodded. Thanks for telling me the truth, even when it hurt. Always, buddy. Always. We stood there in silence, two men shaped by betrayal and loss, but still standing, still moving forward. That's the story. That's what happened. That's how I lost my daughter, my wife, and my faith in the person I thought I knew better than anyone. But I didn't lose everything. I still have Adam. I still have my mother. I still have mornings under the oak tree and quiet evenings on the porch. I still have my dignity and my truth. And sometimes when the wind blows just right and the sun hits the leaves at the perfect angle, I feel something close to joy. Not happiness, not peace. Just a moment where the weight lifts and I can breathe. That's enough. That has to be enough, because at the end of the day, we don't get to choose what happens to us. We only get to choose how we carry it. I'm carrying it the best way I know how, one day at a time, one foot in front of the other, still here, still breathing, still believing that tomorrow might be a little easier than today. That's hope. And hope is the thing they can't take from you, no matter what. If this story touched you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more real-life stories. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. These stories matter. Your voice matters. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there needed to hear this today. Stay strong, stay true, and never stop looking for the truth, even when it breaks your heart.